The longtime point guard Tony Parker has signed with the Charlotte Hornets. We all know him from the Spurs. Tony Parker was he came from he was one of those guys that came from overseas. When he came in the league, everybody was like, man, who is this guy? Because I remember seeing him against, I think I seen him against the Lakers, and he was just torching guys, getting into the lane. Nobody could stay in front of him. Nobody could stay in front of him. He wasn't explosive as far as playing above the rim, but Tony Parker can get in the lane better than anybody. He was the first one that I started seeing doing that floater, doing that little one-arm floater and floating it over the big man. He was the first guy I really started seeing doing that a lot and using it as one of his primary go-to moves. He was a guy that once Pop took him up under his wing, Popovich, the coach, Greg Popovich took him up on his wing and taught him the game. This guy was very, very effective. In my opinion, Tony Parker was one of the best point guards of his era. I'm gonna put him. Look, I know a lot of people are like, man, you can't put Tony Parker above Chris Paul or at that time Darren Williams or the other guys, the other point guards back in that time, Steve Nash, them guys. But Tony Parker won what, 4 NBA championships, and he was a main cog on that team, right along with Ginobili and Duncan. And as Duncan aged, got up in age, it was Tony Parker and Ginobili who really carried the Spurs. Then they later got Kawhi Leonard, but Tony Parker was one of those main cogs of that team. And you can't say he was along for the ride because Tony Parker held up his end. I remember in 2001 when they, not 2001, 2007 when they played, Cleveland when LeBron James got to the finals the first time. Tony Parker was the reason. He was the big reason. Tim Duncan did his thing. Everybody know Tim Duncan did his thing, got his numbers. But Tony Parker was his wingman. No one could keep him out the lane. This man got in the lane whenever he wanted. He was the main reason why Cleveland got swept. I thought Cleveland would lose. I didn't think Cleveland would get swept, but I thought they would lose because I knew the Spurs had a really good team. But the reason why they got dominated the way they got dominated is because this guy right here could not keep him out the lane. Tony Parker, it was kind of surprising because I thought Tony Parker would, retire Spur. I thought him, Ginobili, Duncan did retire Spur. David Robinson did retire Spur. But I thought, Tony Parker and Ginobili was going to retire Spurs. Now, Tony Parker said the team wanted him back, but his role was going to be, lessened because, they got some young guys on that team that Greg Popovich, was going to give more time to. As a player gets up in age, Tony Parker is 36 years old. As they get up in age, you slow down. You're not going to get as much minutes as a guy who's, talented and, the coaching staff feel like that guy should take over. I know as great as Tony Parker has been, but it's other guys on that team that will have to come in and get some get some playing time because their time is now. And Tony Parker, I guess he didn't want to. I mean, he's been coming off the bench, but he didn't want to come off the bench and have his time even less time. He feel like if he goes to the Hornets, he can be a backup or possibly start. It all depends on what they do with my guy Kemba Walker out there. It all depends on what the Hornets do with him. It was him. He's been in trade talks, but I don't know if they're going to trade him now. They need to keep him. I mean, who you going to trade him for? Who you going to trade Kemba Walker for and get a good quality player back? Unless y'all just feel like he's not the point guard of the future. But anyway, I believe Tony Parker believes if he go out there and he'll get more minutes backing up, Kemba Walker. Maybe they can start together because Kemba Walker can play off the ball because he's a really good shooter. But Tony Parker said it wasn't that San Antonio didn't want him back. His minutes was going to be less than it was last year. He said he want to play 3 more years. And when Tony Parker came to the league, I believe Tony Parker came to the league at 17. If I'm not mistaken, the man came to the league at 17. Every time I looked up, I'm thinking like, man, Tony Parker been in the league a long time. Is this man 30 yet? It seemed like it took him a long time to turn 30, man. The man is 36. He's played 17 years in the league already. So, I guess he want to play 20. You got Dirk out there and with Dallas on his 21st season. these guys are playing a little bit longer because these guys take better care of their bodies. Even though Parker had a major injury last year, but these guys are taking better care of their bodies. The game has changed. The game is not as physical as it used to be back in the mid to early 2000s. Guys are able to stay healthy and have longer careers. But can he make a difference? With the Hornets, yeah, he can go out there and help Kemba Walker, and him being a veteran, he can go out there and teach Kemba Walker some other nuances of the game. Teach Kemba Walker how to prepare like a champion, because Tony Parker has won 4 NBA championships and he's been around a winning culture since he came in the league. I believe Tony Parker won I believe they won an NBA championship his first year in the league, if I'm not mistaken. They did won his first year in the league. So all he really knows is winning. Either he went to the playoffs, deep in the playoffs, or they won a championship. So Tony Parker, I know the Spurs in the Spurs Nation is going to miss the guy. The guy he's a consummate professional. I know a lot of people getting on him about the Kawhi Leonard situation, which I thought him and Ginobili, I didn't think it was their place to comment on the man's injury. I mean, you never know how a guy is feeling. Everybody, injury situation is different. Everybody's body function is different. So to me, that's the only thing. I seen an interview with Tony Parker. I read the comment, and then when you see the interview, he didn't really mean it in a vicious way. He just said. Now, a lot of people are harping on when he said my Kawhi injury was 100 times worse than Kawhi's, which in a sense he's right, because I think he ruptured his, and Kawhi didn't rupture his. But he can't say that Kawhi couldn't say that Kawhi should be playing right now because his was 100 times worse. Like I said, everybody's body heals differently, and everybody's body is different, man. Some people come back quicker than what the doctors say, and some people, have setbacks or don't heal, right. So my thing is this: Tony Parker is the first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think anyone would dispute that this man is the first ballot Hall of Famer. The man was, like I said, one of the best point guards, of his generation. And to me, he probably was the best point guard of his generation, winning-wise, hands down. So, I just wanted to give my take on Tony Parker. Subscribe to the channel, man. I'm out.